Trappers Cove. I'm not even kidding you. Okay, I'm going to do that. Mending is helping my mirror stuff, right? Allez, ik vraag gaan uit de en de voorhand te geven. Alleen ik kan niet zo.
There is one species called a whale. And they're very
To Shamu Stadium! Curiosity is wonderful. And just like all of you, it was my own curiosity about nature that led me to working right here at SeaWorld. We receive so many questions about killer whales each and every day from kids and grown-ups of all ages. So we gathered all those questions right here in the Killer Whales Up Close book to share with you today. And we connected the book so that you'll be able to see everything up on our big screens. Now, if you're ready to get started, it's my privilege to introduce you to Mike.
Thanks very much, Jenna. How's everybody doing today? You guys ready to meet some killer whales? All right, well, it's my pleasure to introduce you to 3 of our 11 killer whales here at Shamu Stadium. Up first, we have a brand new mother. She is 11 years old. She weighs a little over 4,000 pounds, and her 21-month-old calf, Amaya. Here comes Kalia and Amaya, everybody. Next, the biggest whale we have here at Shamu Stadium, weighing in at just under 10,000 pounds. He is Amaya's father. He's coming out to the center of the pool right here for you guys. Everybody give it up for Ulysses. Over there. Shamu Stadium is home to 11 killer whales. We have 5 males and 6 females. They range in age all the way from Amaya, who's 21 months, to Corky, who is 52 years old.
Wow, so you can see how different each whale is. But did you know that there are even bigger differences in the wild? In fact, would you be surprised if I told you that there are actually different kinds of killer whales? Yeah, scientists refer to them as ecotypes. They live in different habitats, they have different body types, and they even pursue different types of food. And although killer ecotypes are different, they're all still considered members of one single species, Orcas orca. So one of those questions that we get asked all the time is, how big does a killer whale grow to be? Well, that would depend on which ecotype you're talking about. Is this killer whale a 16-foot female from Iceland or a 30-foot male from Antarctica? Let's take a closer look.
The remarkable thing about killer whales, no matter which type, is that they are found throughout our global ocean, from the Arctic to the Antarctic, and literally everywhere in between. They are found in so many different habitats and depend on such a variety of marine life for survival that killer whales are more intertwined with the fate of our ocean than any other marine animal. Truly, these awesome animals are the living symbol of our ocean, representing so much more than their own species.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, let's hear it for our killer whales. All right, so now it's time to check out some of your great questions. But first, all right, here we go. So many people wonder what it's like to be a trainer. In fact, raise your hands out there if any of you have ever wanted to be an animal trainer. Oh, wow, that's a lot of hands. Well, then I think you should meet our dedicated team to interact with our family of whales.
All right, up here on the main stage, we have Emily. In the back rocking the safety tones is Michelle, Connor, and once again, I'm Mike.
And our trainers are so passionate about what they do here every single day. In fact, that makes me think of another one of your great questions. Do the trainers talk to the whales? Well, Mike, I'm gonna let you answer that one.
That is a great question. We may not talk to the whales like you and I talk to each other, but we have taught them different hand signals in order for us to communicate with them. This ongoing communication helps us build strong relationships with the whales, and we use those relationships to answer very important questions through research.
Here at SeaWorld, we have a unique opportunity to conduct research about killer whales, asking important questions that can only be answered in a setting like this. So much of what we learn here is being used to help killer whales in the wild. Of course, there are other questions that can only be explored by studying whales in the ocean. By exploring questions both at SeaWorld and in the wild, our combined research gives all of us a better understanding of killer whales and the places they live.
And that's what I call working together. Research flowing in both directions, from our part to the wild and back again. That way, everyone benefits. All right, next question, and perfect, because this individual wonders why whales jump. Well, I just happen to have that emoji. Look. You know, killer whales communicate in a lot of different ways. Sometimes they vocalize, and sometimes they use their bodies. And a jump like that you just saw, it's called a breach. And they're actually making a sound on top of the water. And when a whale uses their bodies to slap the water, it really creates a commotion, both above and below the surface. Now, this could be just to show their excitement, or maybe to display a little power, or just get the attention of the other whales. So some of you might have heard Mike mention our youngest killer whale, Amaya, and our SeaWorld social media fans actually helped us name her. And here at SeaWorld, we are so lucky because we're able to watch newborn killer whales rely on their mothers for everything, from that very first moment of birth.
As a calf grows and gains some independence, it is looked after by other whales in the pod too. They help the mother protect the calf, teach it survival skills, and show the calf how to romp and play. Killer whales live in family-like groups known as pods. Like human families, their pods can range in size, from just a handful of whales up to a few dozen.
Oh wow, that's a lot of questions. But believe it or not, we get them here every day.
We sure do. Killer whales communicate with each other using all sorts of vocalizations. Now, unlike you and I, killer whales do not have any vocal cords. So they're going to make those vocalizations to the top of their head. That's called their blowhole. That's also where they get all of the air that they breathe. Now they take that very strong muscular flap on top of their head that they use to breathe, and they can manipulate it to make some of these unique vocalizations that you guys are about to hear. Let's listen. Each killer whale, each pod has their own unique, different set of calls, their own dialect, but don't forget they also use body language.
Yeah, sometimes they blow bubbles or bump into each other or even scratch each other with their teeth, causing something called rake marks. Those are the multi-line marks that you might see on the skin of killer whales and dolphins. And it's just one of the ways they display dominance over each other during social interaction, both in the wild and here at SeaWorld. So we just heard how killer whales communicate with each other, right? But do you all know how we communicate with them? We use signals. And here at SeaWorld, we really do communicate with our whales. And we want those future generations to be able to do the same.
All right, now this is my personal favorite part of the show. This is where we're going to get two very lucky volunteers to come down, and we are going to actually help them interact with the whales. Now over here with Kasaka and Connor, we have Zach. Everybody give a nice warm welcome to Zach. Zach, go over that way, buddy. Go over with Connor. There you go. Good job. All right, and then Jimenez over here with Michelle and Orcas. All right, now you guys are going to use some of those hand signals that we talked about a little bit earlier to help us train the whales. Looks like Jimenez got that first signal. Ready to go? Oh. Look out. Orcas getting a nice shower and a beautiful wave from Kasaka for Zach. Zach's getting some cardio in today. All right, now Jimenez going to do a little dance with Orchid. Now let's see what Orchid does. This is called a mimic behavior. Orchid's actually going to mimic Jimenez's behavior. Same thing's going on over here with Zach. Great job, guys. All right, let's see. A couple more. All right, Jimenez's going to give one more signal. And looks like Orchid is going to do a wave goodbye while Zach gets a nice wet shower. Very nice, you guys. All right, Jimenez and Zach, thank you very much for helping us out. We want to give you these awesome whale tail necklaces that you guys can always remember Orchid and Kasaka, and hopefully you will be inspired just as we all were at one point. Let's give it all up one time, everybody, for Jimenez and Zach. Great job, guys.
another great question. Who takes care of you, Shamu? I love that question because it lets us show all of you how much we really care about these extraordinary animals. So, Mike, is everyone ready?
Yeah, we are ready to go. Now, this is the most important training that we can possibly do here at Shamu Stadium. It's called Husbandry training, and you guys are about to witness it. Now, up there, Amber has Nakai rolled over into a flute present. Now, this is actually going to allow the veterinarians to come out to the stadium and draw blood from the animals. We do this at least once a month, and this is going to make sure that the whales are healthy, and then the blood gets taken back to the lab, and everything gets make sure that they're healthy and growing correctly. Now, the slide-out behavior that you guys see in our shows is not only awesome for you photographers out there, but it also serves a greater purpose. You can see Makani sliding his entire body out there up on stage. We have a giant scale in the back. We weigh the whales at least once a week to make sure that everybody is healthy and growing properly. Now, the high energy behaviors that you guys see during the show not only are spectacular, but they are also there for a higher reason as well. This makes sure that the whales are getting as much exercise as they need to make sure that they're growing properly as well. So if you take a look over in the corner, looks like Orca's going to be doing a very small jump into the side. That's going to allow her enough speed and depth to get going on one of these spectacular behaviors right here in the center. And that's going to make sure that the whales get every single bit of exercise they need every day.
And I know that our guests also always wonder, well, how much does a killer whale need to eat every day to stay healthy?
Well, just like you and I, killer whales have very different dietary needs. You guys saw little Amaya out here in the beginning. She's only eating almost 50 pounds of fish every day. She's still nursing from her mom. Now on the other side, Ulysses, her dad, who again weighs almost 10,000 pounds, he's going to eat close to 200 pounds of fish every day. Now it's important to note that whatever the whales do on that particular day, they are going to get every single fish that they need.
And because we've been able to determine how much killer whales eat throughout different stages of their life, researchers in the field are able to determine if ocean habitats are healthy enough for wild populations of killer whales to thrive. And well, that type of information is invaluable.
You know, food, exercise, and physicals from our veterinarians are not the only thing that our killer whales need. They're so important to us, we want to make sure that their minds and their brains are stimulated and enriched as well. So if you take a look up at the big screen, you're going to see some whales playing with some environmental enrichment devices. Now that's just boring trainer talk for toys. We have a giant toy box in the back full of stuff that sinks and floats, things that the whales can drag around the pool. We can go out and get kelp from Mission Bay. We have non-flavored, non-sugared gelatin that the whales can pull around the pool and like to eat it. Snowballs, ice cubes, you name it. You can see Amber up there giving Nakai a shower. Vicky is giving Makani some ice cubes. So there's lots of different ways that we can reinforce the animals and enrich their lives. Now it's important to note that no matter all of these things that we can do for the whales, stimulation and enrichment, the best stuff that we see is time spent with other whales and our team of experienced trainers.
All right, so here's a question for all you kids out there, because I know you want to know, who would win if a killer whale squared off with a great white shark? So let's take a poll. Raise your hands out there if you think that the great white shark would win. I see like one hand. Okay, now raise your hands if you think that the killer whale would win.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right, the killer whale. You see, a great white shark hunts alone, but a killer whale hunts with a whole pod, so it's not even a competition. And you know, killer whales have even been known to hunt blue whales. You guys know how big a blue whale is? Well, at over 80 feet, it's the largest animal ever to exist on our planet. But killer whales can hunt these huge animals because they coordinate, they collaborate, and they cooperate. Yeah, they work together as a group to overcome challenges much bigger than themselves. And you know, I think that we could learn a lot from killer whales on how to overcome challenges that, say, our ocean faces. Maybe if we work together, we could change the fate of the ocean. And who knows, maybe even one day, the world. All right, more questions. Here's some of those really common ones that always come in. So here we go, first question. Why do some dorsal fins curve? That's a great question. You see, dorsal fins lack any sort of skeletal support, such as bones or cartilage to support their height and weight. They're completely made up of something called connective tissue. So, if an animal spends more time at the surface, over time, the tissue inside that fin might weaken and the fin could bend. Now, occasionally we see these curved dorsal fins out in the wild, like you see here in the photos, and here at SeaWorld. All right, next question. Oh, how fast can they swim? Well, depending on their size and weight, killer whales can reach speeds of almost 30 miles an hour. Let's check it out. Very impressive. All right, next question. How much water can their tails splash? Well, their tails, or floats as they're called, are really strong and can bring a whole lot of water about halfway up those stands. So, time for the last question. If all of the whales splash at once, could they get the whole audience wet? Maybe not the whole audience. You know, killer whales are so inspiring. In fact, the more we learn about them, the more we see they represent more than just themselves. And truly, to better understand the killer whale is to better understand our ocean. So never stop wondering about that natural world around you. And be sure to visit SeaWorldSanDiego.com for your free download of our Killer Whales Up Close book and share it with your family and friends.
From all of us to all of you, thank you for coming, thank you for wondering, thank you for caring. We hope you enjoyed this presentation of Killer Whales Up Close. We hope to see you later today at 4:30 for our wonderful show. Have a great rest of your day here at SeaWorld. Bye-bye.